Hey YouTube land, it's Tycanders here doing another action figure review. Now today we're having a look at the final wave of the Masters of the WWE Universe figures. So this is the final wave. What follows on from this is the new Masters of the, or not Masters of the Universe, the new WWE Superstars line, which basically takes over from this. So they reuse a lot of the Masters of the Universe sculpting for the Superstars line, but they have new characters that weren't in the WWE Universe version. So we'll get into the figures themselves, but we'll have a quick look at the card backs first. Now, unfortunately, the Chyna and Stone Cold is basically the blister card has actually come completely off on these. So if I flip around to the back, there is the Stone Cold, which is the unpredictable bionic rattlesnake, and Chyna is the ninth wonder of the world, or WWE Eternia, and here Rey Mysterio is a heroic high flyer. So armed with the battle axe of beautification and twist into powerful battle positions, don't treat her like a woman, treat her like a man, because the Princess of Power traveled from WWE Eternia, WWE Etheria to Eternia to be the last superstar standing. That is the little blurb for her one. You see she's facing off against the Macho Man, Randy Savage, or the NWO version of Macho Man. The Attitude Era, I think it was his thing. You can see there's a hologram sticker on the top for official WWE products. And then on to Stone Cold's. And flip around the back of the box, and you can put on Bionic Jaw, plug in weapons into arm. You have the same stuff at the bottom. And then for this one is, you can try and stomp a mud hole in the rattlesnake, but Stone Cold will just come back to open a bionic can of the WWE Superstars on the WWE Superstars. That's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. And then the last but not least is the one I actually have the blister box card, or the clear blister on, is the Rey Mysterio Heroic High Flyer figure. So if you flip around the back of the box, again you see the only 3 figures in this wave. You put on Rey's wings, twist into powerful battle positions, and then the ultimate underdog of the 619 district of WWE Eternia taps into his ultimate form to fly, finally rid the planet of evil and bring peace to the Boyaka tribe. And you have an image of Rey flying through what looks like the castles and areas of Avion in Masters of the Universe. So you have that. So out of all these figures here, Chyna is the only new figure, because if I move Stone Cold and Rey back, we have this version of Stone Cold. This is the first version of Stone Cold that came out. Now, he was an exclusive 2-pack packed in with the Rattlesnake Mountain, ring. So it was basically a homage to Snake Mountain done as a wrestling ring, which I have done a review for. He came packed together with Hulk Hogan. It was the only way to get the Hulk Hogan and Stone Cold at the time. Now there's a second Stone Cold, which is a single card release. And then the first version of Rey Mysterio, I believe, was part of Wave 1. I could be wrong. I'm trying to remember if he was a Wave 1 character or not. Let me just double check. No, he wasn't Wave 1 anyway. I think he might have come out Wave 2. But he was very earlier on in the series. So he got a character from that. So this is the new one is basically a repaint with a slight alteration, which I'll go into in a minute. So if I move the old V1 versions out of the way, we'll go through the first version, or the new versions. So for Stone Cold, he is rocking a look of a familiar character of Trapjaw. So he reuses Trapjaw's bionic arm. He has the bionic attachments. Now the only thing he doesn't come with in this silver version, it's the same arm as Trapjaw's, just done in silver. And the one thing he doesn't come with is the blaster that Trapjaw has. He has the hook hand and the pincher claw hand, but he doesn't have the battle hook. Or sorry, not the battle hook, the battle blaster type thing. He does have the belt that Trapjaw has. He reuses the Trapjaw legs, which is, as far as I know, is supposed to be a homage to him having the leg braces. You can actually see he has his Texas tattoo just at the top of the boot, which is a nod to the first version of the figure, which also had a Texas map tattoo on his thigh, or on his lower leg. The belt is removable, but I'm not going to pop it off of this. The trunks he has are just plain black trunks, unlike the first version, which has the snakeskin pattern on them. So he doesn't have the rattlesnake pattern. His waistcoat is the same waistcoat piece, but it has different deco. So on bringing back in the first one, he has a rattlesnake on the left side and Austin written on the right. On this time, he has Bionic written on the right. He has a skull motif. It looks like a metallic skull, or mechanical skull, because on the back he has a skull motif. He had rattlesnake printed on the back of the first one. And he has the 316, which I think was the, I remember having something to do with these wrestling persona. I just can't remember off the top of my head what it was about. And then if I just bring him up close, the other main difference between this one and the first version is the original version has the snake slit eyes, the kind of very serpentine eyes, red eyes, yellow pupils with red eyes, whereas the new version he also has that removable jaw piece, which is a separate piece. He has just regular looking eyes, but done in a kind of red, kind of, the angry, evil red eyes kind of thing. But this just clips over his ears. So he does have that feature. He has all the same articulation as the standard, so the arms can go up, rotate all the way around. He has the single jointed elbow. He has a swivel at the elbow, swivel wrists, hinge on the wrist, ball jointed head, swivel at the waist, hinged legs, can kick forward and back, single hinged knee with a swivel, a boot cut, which kind of does look weird on figures like Trapjaw and Roboto, because this whole piece is supposed to be part of the boot. But on this guy, well, I suppose it does look weird on this guy as well. He does have rocker ankles, but because of the way these legs are sculpted, you don't get much movement out of him because the side pieces kind of cover it. His Bionic Arm, it does have all the same articulation as the other one. The only main difference between this guy and he does have the same swappability factor as the other guys. So if you wanted a kind of more standard Stone Cold, you could pop this head off with the regular eyes and put it onto the body with the rattlesnake motif. If you didn't want the kind of snake style eyes, you can just do that, which isn't too bad. Oh, and they do have peg holes in the bottom of their feet, so if you have some stands that you might be able to use with these, you should be able to get away with it. So on to the second kind of not really new character in this wave. That is Rey Mysterio. So for the most part, he is a reuse of the first version of Rey Mysterio, which was basically just a regular wrestler body with painted abs. I much prefer the repaint over the original one. Now, main differences between the original and the new one is the arms, the wings for the arms are actually the Origins Stratos versions, which have a clip on them, which just clip over the arm or over the wrist. If you can just get it done on screen, so they do fit into place. This extra piece is on the glove is extra. It looks like the wrist guards that are on kind of the standard wrestling figures, but it is a separate piece, so it can be removed, and he's left with the red gloves instead of bare hands like he had on the first version. So the upper kind of straps on these arms are more headband looking things than, or sorry, well, they're more, they have an actual strap coming off them as opposed to just a flat band like the original one has. When you get this guy, this backpack piece is separate. It is a reuse of the Classics version Stratos as opposed to the Origins version, which is kind of nice. It is the same one, just done in red instead of blue. So he has blue wings and red backpack, whereas the first version has red wings, blue backpack. The head sculpt is exactly the same as far as I can tell. It has that eagle kind of motif going down the side. He has the luchador style mask, but it's done in a more kind of traditional Stratos color scheme, which is the grey, red and blue. So I think he looks a little bit better here, and the feathering on the chest looks far better. The feather tampo on the chest is actually really cool. And then all these kind of eagle heads or bird heads going down kind of matches up with the red and blue motif that he has and that Stratos has. So unfortunately I don't have my Stratos to compare him with, but he does have a very more natural Stratos look to him as opposed to the first version of him, which kind of was a mishmash. Well, he was a bit of a mishmash of colors, but I much prefer this newer version. And then on to the last figure of this wave, and most notably the most, well, I wouldn't say new-ish, it's a reuse of a lot of parts, but it is also a new character. So it's Chyna. Now, again, I'm not totally familiar with Chyna's background. I know she was prominent for a while, and then I think I'm trying to think if she had stuff to do with kind of like Legends characters. I think she might have done. I think she was one of the very few first female wrestlers, or like WWE female wrestlers, if I remember correctly. But she comes with a few accessories. Now, she comes with a removable headdress, which is modeled after She-Ra's headdress. I'll just bring that in close so you can see it, which is quite nice. On the back of it, it just has two pegs, and on her hair, I can bring it in close enough, you might be able to see it, just at the very top of her head, there's two actual holes where it just plugs into, and it holds in place, which isn't too bad, and it's not too loose, so you can move her around without it falling off. She comes with the battle comb, or the axe of beautician, or what was it, axe of beautician, I think it was. Let me just move her hard. The actual beautification, sorry. So she comes in a silvered version of the combs that would come with the She-Ra figures. Again, the She-Ra figures would come with something similar to this when in the vintage line, where they had rooted hair, like a doll style hair. But the new figures don't have this. But it is a nice nod to have that kind of battle axe looking piece. For the most part, she is a reuse of the She-Ra figure. The other thing that's loose in the box is this cape. It's actually attached to the neck collar. So I'm just going to pop her head off screen, because it's a bit troublesome to do it on screen. So this is actually loose in the box. It's a separate piece behind the packaging, and it just clips. When you pop the head off, you can put this onto the neck and put it back on. You can have her displayed without it, and if you want a more kind of standard wrestling look, you can take off the headdress and that cape and stuff, and she kind of has her kind of iconic wrestling look. I do remember her having that kind of purple leotard, purpley pink leotard style look to her. In the actual in the actual WWE line, or the WWF, I think it was, when she was around. So there is that. She does have the newer knee sections, the new knee design, because if I bring in the person who she's modeled off, She-Ra, this is the first version She-Ra. You can see the knees are a lot more bulkier, a lot bigger, but you can see how much reuse of parts she has. So pretty much everything. The body is the same, even the waist. Now the waist on She-Ra has this plastic piece that's glued on over it, but if you were to remove that, you'd have the same body as this. Arms are the same. The arms are actually an additional reuse of the lower arms anyway, at least are a reuse of the Tila slash Green Eternian Goddess, or sorry, Eternian Guardian, she's now known as. Tila, Eternian Guardian, and the Evil Lynn figure. I think Sorceress does not use those arms because she doesn't have bracers. But overall, she was mostly reuse of parts with a new head, and she has an addition of these upper arm guards that are a separate rubber piece that are stuck on over the arm. You could probably wiggle them off if you were so inclined, if you didn't want them on the figure. I just have the kind of, you know, more neutral skin tone figure, but overall she's quite a nice figure. And then just to bring in her other female wrestling wave mates, or not wave mates, but the other the other two female wrestlers that they released as part of this entire line, which is Becky Lynch and Stephanie McMahon. So you can see, in regards to Becky Lynch and Stephanie, they actually reused a lot more of the Tila slash Eternian Guardian parts. So you can see the arms are more akin to her, and the lower waist have that kind of armor look to them. The upper bodies are different. I think they reused the upper bodies on both, because I can see that kind of triangular piece on the Stephanie McMahon body. It's just because it's all black, it's harder to see, but the upper body is the same between the two, just different heads. But overall, really nice lineup. It is a bit of a shame that they only went with 3 characters. There was a rumored 4th character. Now, just before I go on about the 4th character, there is little packing card things. So you have a Rey Mysterio one, which shows him battling, I think, Seth Rollins on the front. Then you have the Chyna one with the Undertaker and Macho Man. Again, just like with this previous wave, which I have reviewed, which has Andre in it, these are just a one, they're not even a one-page one. These are actually one sheet instead of the previous ones. So if I bring in the previous ones, this is what they did for Bret the Hitman Hart. It actually opened up like it used to be the comic style. On these final wave ones, they're actually kind of, they realized how much waste of paper it was printing on 2 sides, and they only have one, they have, or sorry, on 2 separate sides, so they only have one side printed on each side. So you have the you have the Stone Cold one versus Ultimate Warrior and the Rey Mysterio from this wave, whereas the other characters are versus characters from previous waves, but they are kind of one-piece comic, or sorry, comic art stuff. On the older figures, they were an actual comic. They had a little storyboard type thing behind it of who was fighting who for kind of what reason, but they got rid of that. So one final note on the 4th character that should have been in this wave, or was, from what I've heard, was rumored to be going to be in this wave. It was going to be a version of Big Show. And if I just move my characters back a bit, and hopefully they won't all fall over, he was going to reuse a character which I reviewed already, which was this guy, Andre the Giant. Apparently the rumor was that he was going to reuse the Andre the Giant parts. Now, if you're wondering why my Andre looks different, is because I ended up getting another one because of the huge QC issue I had with my first one. In fact, if I bring that one in, you'll be able to see it. Bear with me one moment while I grab him. The glaring QC issue in the room for my previous Andre is that he had a misaligned connector for his shoulder, and in so doing this piece should have been sunken into the side. In so doing, it created a split on the seam line where the two halves of the body connect. Now, I have a buddy of mine asked me if I can send it to him, which I will. I just haven't had a chance to post it off because with work and stuff, and being just not being outside the town itself, it's a bit of a cumbrance getting in and out of town just to go to the post office for one thing. So that said, I do have the extra armor from this one, which is why this guy has 2 straps on him instead of 1. Now, I would imagine that what they were going to do is, because the 2 straps kind of, there is a peg on the straps. In fact, if I just bring in the armor off the other one, this is the way the armor looks. So there's a sash or belt piece that goes around the upper part of the torso. And then there's the bits that go over the shoulders. There's actually 2 pegs, but on the actual one you get, there's only 1 strap going from here to the back piece. So I took the extra strap piece, and because there's actually 2 plugs but only 1 strap piece, I just plugged the extra one over, and it seems to fit well because this back peg is actually larger, so it doesn't actually, it actually fits. So what my idea was, or what I think they were intending to do for the big show, is because they were supposed to reuse this body, I would imagine they were going to slightly change the skin tone of this, do a Big Show head on it. In fact, the Big Show that was rumored was supposed to be a homage to Megator, whereas this guy's a homage to Titus, who is there was 2 giants in the original, or giant figures in the original Masters of the Universe line. One was Titus, who was a kind of more humanoid style giant, whereas Megator was a more bestial style giant, which had green skin. I would imagine they would have redone this guy in green skin with the same kind of black harness thing that Big Show. I think Big Show was known for having one of these kind of over the one shoulder style things as well. So they would have had a green skin, probably would have changed up this, maybe kept this part, still probably would have had these bracers done maybe in a gold color, or maybe have different bracers on them. Definitely the head would have been different because it would have been Big Show's head. This piece is actually, I missed this on my review for the other one. It's the head part to make him look more like Titus. Titus had this kind of crown piece on him, which has like this nose cover, whereas Megator doesn't have any of that, so it would have been just a bare Big Show head. I would imagine they would have gone with, and maybe they would have given him a weapon. The original Megator had a cool looking ball and chain sort of weapon. I'm not sure if they would have done that for this line, but maybe not. But overall, I think he would have looked cool if they had added him into this lineup as the Big Show. But for whatever reason, Mattel dropped him last minute, and that's possibly why the additional comics that would have been included with this wave was also probably altered to have just the cards, the collector card style, instead of an actual mini comic, because they probably were heavily being influenced by the Big Show character, so they might have dropped that. But overall, really cool figure lineup. It is a shame that it is the last lineup for this series. Maybe, who knows, they might come back to it somewhere down the line and do them again with more characters, more WWE characters. But as it stands, these 3 characters are the last of the lineup. So again, Stone Cold Steve Austin, the unpredictable bionic rattlesnake; Chyna, the 9th wonder of the WWE universe, or WWE Eternia; and Rey Mysterio, the heroic high flyer. So great figures. As far as I know, I think these guys are still possibly able to be pre-ordered on Big Bad Toy Store. That's where I got these. The initial, was it 4 waves before this lineup, this final wave? So there was 2 waves that were mass retail, which is this one and its predecessor, the previous wave, which was the one with Andre, Sergeant Slaughter, Junkyard Dog, and the second version of Ultimate Warrior. So that was a mass release, retail release, whereas everything before that for this lineup was a Walmart exclusive. And sadly, from what it looks like at the moment, they're going that route again with the WWE Superstars line, which reuses like the Masters of the Universe style body with the wrestling kind of motif. Whereas the WWE Superstars line is pure wrestling characters. So the first lineup for that is, well, one of the characters I can remember, or I know off the top of my head for the first wave, is Ric Flair. There is two other characters, I think, in the wave. I think they're only doing waves of 3 instead of waves of 4, possibly. But overall, again, they're going with Walmart exclusives for the WWE Superstars line, which is a disappointment. I would really like Mattel to kind of think outside the box and think about customers or collectors that would be in Europe, because I do not think these were as easily to get in Europe as the Masters of the Universe Origins line. So there is that. Anyway, enough of me rambling at the end of this video. I hope it was enjoyable and I hope it was informative. And as I say in my videos, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Cheers, guys.